know y'all have been wondering where I've been, and it has been a lot going on with me. I understand that I only have 60 subscribers, I think 62, but that's 62 that were waiting on videos and expecting to see me again, and I just stopped recording. Hopefully this video and the videos to come will bring new subscribers, and it will help someone out that's going through a similar situation. I am very uncomfortable with doing this right now. Where has Ariel been? Let's start with something positive. So since I've been gone, my husband and I did get pre-approved to buy a house, and we're actually in the process of building, and we do our blue tape walkthrough on September 18th, and we close September 27th. Just to give you some positive news, and let's just start it off positive. Where have I been? So I found out in September of 2018, September the 8th to be exact, September 8th of 2018, was it even 2018? Was it 20? Yeah, 2018. I went into the hospital because my legs were swelling, and I later found out, maybe a couple of days later, that I had lupus. And it's so crazy because lupus runs in my family. I have an aunt that has lupus, and she also has RA, which is rheumatoid arthritis. When I finally got in to see the rheumatologist, he decided that he didn't think I had lupus, that he thought I had RA, but he did believe that I had blood clots because I had elevated D-dimer. My D-dimer was at a 1040. That number shouldn't be over 400. So he sent me to a hematologist. The hematologist so happened to work inside of a cancer institute. And he worked in the cancer institute. We found out I didn't have blood clots. I went on blood thinners to get rid of the blood clots, and I was supposed to come back a month later for a follow-up. I didn't end up coming back a month later because they happened to call my husband's phone number for the reminder appointment, and he was actually away on orders. So it took maybe 2 or 3 months before I got back into that doctor's office. And the only reason why I went back in is because they had sent me multiple letters saying, hey, come back in for your follow-up. And then they just so happened to call my husband the week that I did decide to go back in. And so I called, and I was just like, yeah, hey, yeah, I'll come in. And it wasn't to see if something else was there. There was no concerns. It was just a follow-up to make sure everything was gone. When I went to the appointment, I hate saying when I went to the appointment, I hadn't worn any jeans in months, and I had decided, hey, I'm gonna wear a pair of jeans. I had gained 13 pounds over a 2-day period back in September, and I kept telling all these doctors, like, look, I gained all this weight, and I kept getting, well, you're still small, like you're very small, like what is 13 pounds? They were like, you needed it. Not really hearing that, no, literally I gained 13 pounds in 2 days. But this particular doctor, he listened. I went into the appointment, the blood clots definitely were gone. He did notice that I couldn't button my pants, and he noticed that my pants were unbuttoned. So he was like, Ariel, no, let me look at your stomach. he looks at my stomach. It's like, Ariel, your stomach's swollen. He was like, can I touch it? So I was like, yeah, go ahead. So he touches my stomach and it hurts. It's like he knew exactly where to push, because this whole time of my stomach being swollen, I never once noticed, damn, it hurts. He then said, Ariel, that don't look right. It could be anything. He was like, well, when was your last bowel movement? I was like, funny, I just pooped before I came here. And he was like, well, swelling could be many things. Like, don't freak out, but I am going to call you an emergency ultrasound. So because it's a cancer institute, it's huge. It has all those options available inside this huge building. It's an institute, so everything you possibly need inside of a doctor's office. I'm saying ultrasounds, MRI, CT scans, chemo, radiation. They do it all. I went down the hall, which it wasn't really right down the hall because the building is huge, but basically down a very, very long hall. I went down the hall, had the ultrasound done, and I actually went to that appointment by myself. I should have led with that. When I found out about the lupus, one of my clients, because you guys know I own a hair salon, because my husband's always working, and for her to just be moral support, at some point she started coming to my appointments with me. So when I went to this doctor back in December or January, I want to say either January. Okay, so when I went to him back in January, my client went with me. So on this particular appointment, I didn't have her go with me because I was like, it's just a follow-up, like what could really happen. We did the ultrasound. It was an abdominal ultrasound. I had me and the ultrasound technician. We're talking, blah blah blah, having a whole conversation, and she just gets quiet, and I'm like, what the hell she see? Like what just happened? And the actual machine started beeping. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like what? Sorry, my legs, y'all. So I was like, what the fuck? What? Damn, okay. What could she possibly see? She basically told me she couldn't tell me. She was like, the doctor will tell you about it. I was like, do you see anything? And she was like, well, the doctor, he'll talk to you about it. Blah, 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 blah. So we finished the ultrasound. Okay. All right. So back to what I was saying. Sorry about that, y'all. So we finished the ultrasound. I leave. I go home. I live 20 to like 25 minutes away from the institute. I get home. I'm not home no more than 20 minutes. It had been about a 45-minute span since I had left the doctor's office, and I'm FaceTiming my best friend, and I was like, yeah, I had a doctor's appointment with the hematologist today. And he was like, what the hell is that? And I was like, he checks for blood clots. So I was just telling him that. And then a number from our area code comes across my phone, which is not abnormal because I own a business and usually I have a lot of people call my cell phone. So I just answered, and I answered as if it was the salon, because I usually do that when it's salon hours and I'm not at work. So I answered and I realized it's my doctor. Not his nurse, not the doctor office, but the actual hematologist is on the phone. And he begins to say, hey, Ariel, we've seen 2 abnormal masses. And I was just like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, what's the next step? And he was just like, well, we want you to come in for a CT scan. You're going to have to fast. We'll have you on call for it because we need to get this. We need to figure out whatever this is, and we need to figure out it very quickly. So I was like, okay. So of course I'm paranoid, I'm freaking out. And I'm just like, okay, we need a CT scan, okay? So sorry about the air, you guys. I need the air, and you'll find out later why I need the air. So I go back in. My original appointment was March 28th, And on April 2nd, I'm now going back in because they couldn't get me in an emergency. They couldn't get me in for emergency CT scan, so they actually had to put me on the schedule. So they put me on the schedule. I fast. I came in. I drank 4 bottles of water, and then I went back for the CT scan. We did a kidney check, which they just pulled blood from your arm. They flushed it with saline. Blah blah blah. I checked my kidneys. My kidneys look fine. They checked my blood pressure, of course. Checked to see if I was pregnant. You know, normal stuff. Before you get radiation or dyes put inside of you, or you're surrounded by radiation, they need, or metal, they need to make sure that you're not pregnant. So we did that, and I go and have the CT scan done. I get inside the machine, beep beep beep, turn this way, hold your arms that way. I'm doing everything that I need to do. So when I come out, I could tell that the CT technician, his attitude changed as well. He was all bubbly and friendly. This is the thing. So I love this institute. Don't get me wrong. But they gain a friendship with you. Or you begin to bond with them. Because I've been there multiple times at this point, and they've seen me over the course of a few days. And even if I didn't deal with that particular technician or nurse or doctor or whatever, they remember your face, which makes it just feels very wholesome, and it makes you feel like they actually care. But as he was coming out to pull me out the machine, well, I was already out of it, but to help me up and make sure I was okay, I could tell that his demeanor changed. And I was just like, okay, he sees something as well. Okay. So at that particular day, of course, that client that I tell you has been going out of my appointments with me, she's there as well. So she's out in the waiting room for that particular area, because I'm saying this place is huge. So you have multiple waiting rooms for for the radiation, you have a waiting room. For the chemo, you have a waiting room. For just the general institute, you also have a waiting room. You have a waiting room for people. I don't know if people actually stay there, because I don't know what the heck is upstairs. Like, when I say the place is huge, it's huge. But she's out in the waiting area for the ultrasound, and the CT room are all in the same room, and radiation. It's a couple radiation rooms in that particular area. So she's out there waiting, and I come out, and immediately I had to throw up. So we went running down the hallway, and I threw up, which I don't know what the heck I was throwing up, because I hadn't ate, and I think it was like, he gave me a 12 to 16 hour span. Yeah, because he kept saying you're little, and we don't want like anything in the way. Like, we just want water to see through, or I don't know. Don't get me, I don't know. But, so me and her went and got something to eat, because I was starving, because I hadn't ate in so many hours, and then also I just threw up, so I was like throwing up basically water, because really it was nothing left. So we went and got something to eat, and we came back at 2 to now have my appointment with my doctor. So that appointment was that one the one that was at 8 a.m.? No, that appointment was probably at 10, and we came back at, I'm sorry y'all, so we came back at 2, and my doctor comes in, and once again, he's bubbly, and he wasn't bubbly, he came in serious. So which I expected him to, because it was just too much weirdness going on for him not to come in and be like, something ain't right. So he came in with his nurse, which he always comes in with a nurse, and I'm telling you, this place is the best place ever. If you guys message me in a confidential way, I'll tell you what the institute is called. But I really don't want to do it, just because, well, they can't give out my information anyway, because it's a doctor office. Okay, it's CCI. It's the Clearview Cancer Institute. Yeah. So Dr. Streeter, oh crap, I ain't said the doctor name. Well, we love him. He's a good doctor, so that's okay to say. So he comes in, and he comes in with his nurse, and he's still very friendly, but I could tell that he's being serious. So he, he looked over at Miss Mia, who is like an aunt to me, but that's my client. Like, just she's family. Since I don't have any family but my in-laws, and I really don't have that many in-laws left in Alabama because all of them have moved away. So I have my husband, my brother-in-law, and then some of their cousins and stuff. But she's been great support, her and her best friend. But needless to say, he was like, I met you before. I met you on the last appointment. And I was like, it's amazing that he remembered that that's her. And that was all the way back in January. And I can only imagine how many people he's seen since then. But she was like, yeah, you met me. And so he sits down. He kind of gave me my little fist pump because he knows I'm weird. Like, he shook my hand the first couple times we met, and then finally he realized, you don't like shaking hands. And I'm like, no. So we fist pumped, and that kind of kept it like, okay. But he sat down, and the nurse starts to click some stuff up on the computer. So he was like, Ariel, I can't really remember exactly how this conversation went. I've had so many doctor's appointments since then. But he's like, Ariel, it looks as though you either have cervical cancer or endometrial cancer. And I say, huh. And he said, well, what is that? And I said, well, when I went home on, because I think this is, I'm trying to see what day this is. So this should be April 2nd. So when I went home March 28th and he called and told me that he seen masses, me being me, I'm a Sagittarius, I gotta know what's going on. I have to know what something could possibly be. So I get on the computer, of course, I look up people with endometriosis, people with lupus, people with asthma, which the lupus, I think I typed in autoimmune disorders because we still haven't really determined what my autoimmune disorder is. We just know I have a positive ANA. And the rheumatologist that I have, not the hematologist, but the rheumatologist I have sucks donkey balls. Let's just be honest. He doesn't care to figure out what it is. And this is the same doctor I kept telling my stomach was swelling and I was gaining weight, and he didn't care to do anything about it. But that weekend, after I had a phone call with him saying that I had masses, I typed everything in, and the first thing that came up was endometrial cancer. Crazy enough. Not two cancers, but just endometrial cancer. And I was just like, I looked it up and that popped up, and he was like, well, that's what it looks like. He said, of course, we won't be able to determine that until you have a biopsy done. But he was like, I want you to see them. So the nurse pulls up the picture, and he was like, this one, it was one like in this general area where my right ovary should be. He was like, we don't see your right ovary at all. Like, your right ovary should be here, and it's either, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he didn't think that it was gone. It was just, it's like it was covered, and it was covered with something. We just didn't know what it was covered with. My uterus, couldn't see it as well, but you could kind of see a peak of it, and you could see that all these, I don't want to say all these tumors, but you could see that all these whatever was covering something. They were in the perfect shape of a uterus. So you could tell that most likely was still there, and it was just being smothered. So that was the word he chose to use. He says, whatever this is, whether they're cysts, tumors, malignant tumors, what's the word if they're not malignant? Benign. I think that's the word. Did I just make that up? Benign, not benign. That's the product. That's a hair product. Benign. That he said, well, he couldn't tell if they were benign, if they were cysts, if they were fibroids. We could not tell exactly what they were, but definitely was covering my uterus. He was just like, I'm going to refer you to an oncologist. And I'm like, all these lologists, and I don't know what none of these doctors are. But he was like, we'll set you up another appointment, and I'm going to call the oncologist, and we're going to set your appointment up for you. But we're going to have some more tests done. So when you go over to him, really no more tests have to be done. We can just be the ballpark could just get to going, And the reason why he wanted to do that, because he said whatever this is, it has to come out because it was literally pushing my reproductive system, organs, whatever you want to call it. It was pushing them out the way. It was pushing them to the side, pushing them forward, which explained why I peed a lot, why my monthlies were so bad, which I started really blaming everything on the endometriosis. What you guys don't know is I can't say I've been suffering. I was suffering. I was having really bad. I was having issues with getting pregnant. So I had been on rounds of Clomid, rounds of Fertilway, Ovule Boost, and nothing was happening. I wasn't getting pregnant. And at some point, we were just saying that it was probably because of the endometriosis. And we knew that one of the fallopian tubes were blocked. I'm not gonna fucking cry. We knew that one of the fallopian tubes was blocked, and that was exactly a year before this. Like almost like it was 13 months before finding this that I found out that one of my fallopian tubes was blocked. But I was still pushing to try to get pregnant and not have surgery to remove the blockage. So it's crazy that 13 months later we're finding out not only is that fallopian tube blocked, but you have all these tumors or masses or whatever you want to call them. You have them covering your reproductive system. So I come back in April 5th, and on that day we did a vaginal ultrasound, and April 10th is when I go see the oncologist. So, and speaking of April 5th, when I went on April 5th, we didn't find any more tumors, but it looked like one of them were leaking. So that made us positive, thinking, okay, this may be a cyst or a fibroid. Yes, it has to come out, but it's not cancer. Or even if it is a tumor, it may not be malignant because it's leaking. This is what we thought. We don't find out until my surgery day what the heck that leak was. I go in to see the oncologist. You know, he's a great doctor, don't get me wrong. And after surgery, and even right before surgery, after he called in the MRI, his attitude changed. And he had the speeding mentality that the doctor, the hematologist, had over at CCI. And I know you're wondering, like, well, you're at a cancer tube. Why did you get referred to another doctor? And it's because the hematologist, he didn't deal with this type of cancer. He didn't deal with women type of cancer. So any type of cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, endometrial cancer, he doesn't deal with that. So he referred me to the oncologist, which this is his area. And so the oncologist called in for an MRI. And I went into the MRI maybe 2 weeks later. And then after that, I had an MRI on a Saturday. So I came into the salon at 5 in the morning. I got 6 clients out the way, made it over to the MRI at 3:30. They didn't get me back till an hour later, and then I was in the machine for 2 hours and 30 minutes. And I literally was like functioning off of 2 hours of sleep. So I actually fell asleep in the machine. So like people were like, you were in the MRI machine how long? And you wasn't irritated? I'm like, you just don't understand. I was knocked out. And like they give you beeps where they need you to move your body this way or that way. But the woman had some country music on, and I don't know if y'all know, but I love every type of music. So I at some point was like jamming, I'm getting it, and I'm like, yeah, that's my song. Okay, I wasn't moving, but I was, feeling the music. And then the next moment I'll be knocked out asleep. And then she'll give me a beep and tell me to move your arm this way or move your leg that way. Well, not your leg. Was it my leg? Yeah, because I went from elevated to down to arms up to, they wasn't out like this, but they went here. And then they were here because we had to do it in 2 stages. Because the tumors, they literally were belly, like right mid of my belly button all the way down, like down into the girl parts. So we did that, and I went to him that following Tuesday. So I think that was April 28th by this point. And because I know I had appointments April 20th. No, that was not April. It couldn't have been April 28th because I had my pre-screening on April 28th. So I don't know. Maybe it was only a week later. I don't know, like, y'all, it's been so many doctor's appointments. I apologize. But I went back into him, and he decided to do a DNC. And so he did a scrape, and we found out that one of the tumors was malignant. At this point, my client that's been going to me with all the appointments, now her best friend's coming with me. And I love her as well. She's like an aunt as well. And the reason why she took over, because she's actually a nurse, which is so crazy because the other client, she had just gone through cancer. The one that's started going to all the appointments with me, she had just gone through cancer 2 years ago, but it was in her breast. So it was good to have her there with me because she kind of understood some of the appointments. But the other client understood them even more because this is her daily, and she knew exactly what questions to ask. So we went in and we did that DNC scrape, and for about 2 weeks after that, I must have literally gotten the MRI maybe a couple days later. And the reason why I say this because for about 2 weeks after that DNC, I thought I was peeing on myself, which we're still not quite sure what the hell it was. But when usually when you pee on yourself, you feel some type of pressure. So how they explained to me, if you haven't had kids yet and you're possibly peeing on yourself, you will feel the pressure or the muscles releasing. And I wasn't feeling that at all. It was just like a drainage. So we feel like that fluid that we might have seen earlier on might have been the fluid that was coming out of my vagina. Let's just be honest. That's what we thought was possibly happening. I went in to see what the results were of the MRI. At that point, we found 2 more tumors, masses, whatever the hell you want to call them. Found 2 more at that point. Not only was my D-dimer still elevated, not only did I still have a positive at ANA, but now my CA-125 numbers were 4 times higher than what they should be. That day, I found out that one of the tumors was malignant. And in all honesty, we could have found out that one of the tumors was malignant without the DNC, because that CA-125 should never be 4 times higher. Actually, the number shouldn't exist if cancer doesn't exist in your body. I think that's what I was told. But mine was 4 times higher than what it should have been. So it kind of was looking like the cancer had spread. April 28th, I go into another doctor's office. I have an EKG done. I have an X-ray done. I have a prescription type of, like, what prescriptions you are on, what prescriptions is safe to take of surgery day. They give me some shampoo, some body wash, all these things to prep me for surgery. I had 5 appointments that day, but like 4 of them was in that. No, I had maybe 6 appointments that day, because I think 4 of them was just in that particular doctor's office. Then I had to go over to my oncologist's office to get the antibiotics. I had to get the prescription. I had to actually get the prescription to take to the pharmacy, because the pharmacy that I use, did it stop recording? I don't think it did. Okay, so the pharmacy that I use doesn't do call-ins. They do on some places, but most of the time they don't do emails. And my doctor's office doesn't do call-ins. That's what it is. So I had to physically take them over. So I went and grabbed those. And then I had to go see my favorite doctor over at CCI. And the reason why he wanted to see me, because he wanted to make sure everything was being taken care of. He actually did that appointment free of charge. I hope that's okay. He literally just had a conversation with me. But he was just like, I just, want to make sure they're taking care of you. And do you have any questions that he hasn't answered? And I was like, well, at the time, we were positive that I was going to have radiation after surgery. Not thinking chemo, but definitely thinking radiation. And I'm not going to say that our insurance was trying to tell me who I had to go to, But they kind of was trying to tell me who I had to go to, and I really wanted to go to CCI because they knew me. I felt at home there, and this whole ordeal, you just want to be somewhere where you're comfortable. So he was just like, let's get to that part after surgery. If you need it, I'll help give you the paperwork to push it through. I went back to my oncologist and we set a date for surgery, which ended up being May 13th. He sat down and he asked, what all do you want to do on surgery day? And I know you're like, well, what do you mean? What all does he want you to do? I had told him before, look, I just want a full hysterectomy because I have endometriosis, I have horrible periods, and I want to lessen the risk of the cancer coming back. I regret that decision now, but either way it go, it was something that had to be done. So May 13th comes and my two favorite clients are there, of course. My sister was coming a week after surgery, that way she could help during the recovery process. And my husband was there, of course, and I had my stuffed animal that my husband got me a few years ago for Valentine's Day. I had it there because I just needed I needed moral support, or from a teddy bear, I don't know. We had surgery, and my doctor came in and he said, hey, if I get in there and you don't need a full hysterectomy, I'm not doing it. If you need it, I'm going to do it. But he asked, is this still the game plan? Even if the smallest thing is off and I feel like we can correct it after surgery, do you want me to leave it? And I was like, no, like, even if it can be corrected, take it off, because I don't ever want to go through this again. That's what I'm thinking. We do surgery. We didn't do a robotic surgery, and the only reason because it was so bad in there. He literally was like, I need to get my hands in there and I need to feel around. But we did do a laser cut, so I have the smoothest, perfect cut. You really can't tell that it's there because it's literally in just the perfect spot. Kind of mimics what's it called? A cesarean. It kind of mimics that when you give birth and you have a I know the actual name, but I can't even think of what most people call it. But most people know what that is. So it mimics that, but it's even better because it was a laser cut, and of course I don't think you can do that when you're delivering a baby. I don't think they can do a laser cut. I hope not. They might burn the baby. I don't know. But so the cut is perfect. When I come back out, I had to stay in the hospital for 3 days. I could have stayed longer, but I was doing so well that they was like, we can release you. You look like, you're doing well walking. And at that point I had 2 bowel movements. And it's funny because right before surgery, I had to poop, y'all. And they had me on so many freaking laxatives. And so when I went, like literally this was right before surgery, I went because I thought I had to pee. And I splattered poop all over the toilet. And the nurses was like, it's okay. It happens all the time. And they was like, well, what laxatives does he have you on? I was like, he has me on 2 different laxatives. I was on Duralax. And I also was on Miralax. Had a bottle. He literally had me do a whole bottle of the one that's about this size, and I think it filled up 32 ounces of Gatorade. I never wanted to drink Cool Blue Gatorade again because it literally, Miralax barely has a taste, but it changes the texture slightly, kind of makes it gritty. And now when I taste Cool Blue, all I want to do is gag. But so I filled it up in a pitcher. First, I think I did it all in the bottles one by one, and then I put them all in a pitcher and then restirred them again. So at no way was there any powder left, but literally just Miralax is disgusting now. But I now still have to do it because I'm still healing, and I don't want to create like hemorrhoids or anything like that from pushing or straining, or I don't want to irritate my incision or create a cluster of nerves because I'm forcing myself. But needless to say, I pooped all over the toilet. But after surgery, I was really emotional because I didn't want to take the medicine. So let's just backstory. Ariel doesn't do drugs. Ariel has smoked weed twice in her life, and it just happened like 2 or 3 years ago. And I didn't get high at all. And it was actually decent weed, come to find out, because a couple of my friends, they were smoking, they were high as hell, and I'm sitting there like, this is stupid. Like, this is stupid as hell. But I talked to my dad about it, who's a heavy weed smoker in a legal state, but he's a heavy weed smoker. And he was just like, well, it might be because you've been on prescription medicine all your life. Like, when I say I've had asthma, I've had a lung collapse, I have eczema, so I have like steroid creams constantly. I've been on prednisone, I don't know how long. Like, I have multiple things, which he was like, it probably tainted, like, just my body just doesn't get high easily. But let me tell y'all, that little button, the little green button with the medicine that you're supposed to release, you can push every time you're hurting. I wasn't pushing it because I didn't want to take it, and I literally was crying. Like, everybody kept visiting me the day of surgery. I didn't expect so many people to come visit me, but they were all clients, and they were like, I love my clients because they're my homies. Like, I had so many clients come visit me, and they were just like, and then I had, of course, friends that came the next day. Like, my few little girlfriends, they came the next day, of course. But, and some of the family friends came the next day. But so crazy is, they were like, you were so emotional, not because of the pain, because you didn't want to take the medicine. Because I was high, you guys. And I was like, I don't want to take this. And I faintly remember like crying and be like, I don't want to take this. And little did I know that it stays on top of your pain. So even if you're not pushing it, it's releasing it. So the next morning came, and she was just like, I'm coming to take your drip away. And I was like, okay, I don't care. I don't need it anyway. She was like, well, girl, you got one leg. She was like, you might want to push it. And I was like, no, I don't want this stuff. And she was like, no, we're going to push it. And I was just like, okay. So she pushed the button, and she released it. And so they took that away. And, yeah, they didn't take the catheter that day, did they? No. Did they take it that day? I don't think so. So they did. They took so before she came and took my button away, at 4 a.m, they came and took my catheter out. And I ain't never had no catheter before, you guys. And she pulled that thing out, and it was the quickest discomfort and the smallest amount of bleeding. But like, she changed my bag. She came back an hour later, because it still had a lot of blood in it, and she wanted to make sure it was just residue blood. I wasn't still fully bleeding. So she took that bag out. She came back, and it was such the smallest amount. She was like, let's go ahead and take it out. So she took it out, and I was just like, oh, okay, all right, we gonna do that. So she took it out, and I was just like, okay, so I'm gonna have to start peeing now. So that means it's time to start getting up and moving. And I pee a lot. So she was like, somebody be back to check your vitals and everything else. And sure enough, somebody came in. They gave me my morning medicines. They gave me my inhalers. They gave me my Flonase and my Zyrtec, because they wanted me to still be able to breathe and function. So they came in and did that. And then I had this machine that I was supposed to breathe in to make sure air was getting into my lungs. So not like a peak flow, but something else that's like mainly for when you have surgery. So they were doing that, and I was barely getting the machine up to a height. But then they was like, well, yeah, you still only have one lung. Which, come to find out, The right lung that collapsed when I was a kid has started to swell again. It's still not the same size as the left one, but there's air getting to it now. Crazy crap. Like, I've literally been going through craziness. So, my doctor came in later that day and he was like, Ariel, you know, it was a lot. And he was like, let me look at the incision. So, of course, it's a whole bunch of people in the room, but I'm like, let's look at it. You know, they're family, friends. One of them's, two of them's a nurse, and the others, if y'all some punks, get the heck out. Because if he want to look at it, we about to look at it. So he looks, and he's just like, okay, it's looking good. I don't know if I mentioned, but he sealed me up with surgical glue. If I ever have to have surgery again, I pray that I don't, but I want surgical glue. Best crap in the world. He sealed me up with the surgical glue, and yeah, so he looked at it, and I was like, so radiation, chemo, what are we thinking? And he was like, we might need chemo. I said, okay, bet. So I took it. Of course, I didn't want to hear that, but shit happens. So, you know, he was just like, it was bad in there, but he was just like, we'll talk about that in 2 weeks when you come in, you know, for your follow-up to see how you're doing. I ended up going home the next day, which was Wednesday. Wednesday night at home without a nurse and just my husband. It was a B word. My client that had been going to all the doctor's appointments with me, she was coming up there every day while I was still in the hospital, and she stayed with me until Deontay got off work each day, every day. And then Friday evening, he had to actually go to drill. So then I had 2 other clients who were like aunts to me as well. They came and stayed with me because I could not be by myself. I could not physically be by myself for 3 weeks because the possibilities of bleeding out in my sleep were still so high. If I moved wrong, if I pulled myself, I literally needed someone there to watch me. So that first night, it was pain. It was absolute hell. I was on hydrocodone and it just was not strong enough, but I did not want anything stronger, and I didn't want more of it because I feared becoming addictive of it. I have family members that have addictive personalities. Well, a couple are alcoholics, and a couple have like gambling issues, and I just fear the substance. And then you just hear so many people, they become addicted with medicine. They say, well, if your body needs it, you won't become addicted. Forget that. Let's not even risk it. Grab the soda. So, oh shit, I'm leaking and stuff. So, yeah, so I healed, blah, blah, blah. After a week, I had some drainage going on. Come to find out it was just an ingrown hair and some iodine coming out the surgical glue. I then come back in another week later to actually see my doctor, and he's like, yeah, it's healing up good. Like, he was like, I'm proud you're keeping this glue on here very well. And he was like, you know, everything's looking okay. And I told him, look, when I pee, it was going up in like a waterfall matter. So of course he did a PAPS and he checked, and at that point I had gotten a hemorrhoid, and that wasn't there beforehand, so we know that I was straining. So he was like, I need you to start drinking Miralax. So I went back on the nasty Miralax. Of course not as much as I had to do for surgery, but I started drinking Miralax every day to help me poop, and I'm still doing it every so often. But he checked, and he was just like, we did some blood work, and he was just saying, you know, we don't think that chemo is a thing right now, but you are going to begin to start going through menopause. And I already felt it because I started having the hot flashes probably Friday, and surgery was that Monday. I had already started having hot flashes, and I wasn't putting two and two together. That's what it was. I just thought I was hot as hell. He said that we couldn't put me on any estrogen because it would bring the cancer back. And of course, it wouldn't bring the same cancer back because those problems have been taken away. And what I mean by that is I had stage 2 endometrial cancer and stage 2 ovarian cancer, and my endometriosis tissue was at a stage 4, I believe. So my whole reproductive system had pushed out. It had pushed out the way. So it made sense why I wasn't getting pregnant. It made sense why I was in pain during my monthlies. It made sense why when my hematologist pressed on my stomach, why I was ready to kick him in the throat. Like it all began to make sense. The reason why he didn't want to put me on the estrogen because it would bring the cancer back. It wouldn't bring ovarian or endometrial cancer back because I've had a full hysterectomy. So what that entails, I had my uterus removed. I had both ovaries removed. I had one ovary removed. I had one ovary removed. And the reason why I'm saying I had one ovary removed because the leaking, we discovered that my right ovary had exploded. My right ovary had exploded, and we don't know when it exploded, but the fluid that we seen, matter and all of that, it was not just tumors, it literally did not exist anymore. So he removed all of that, of course, and my fallopian tubes, he removed lymph nodes at the top and at the bottom in my legs. So literally, there's nothing left. He removed uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries, all that. All the overgrown endometrial tissue, and 6 tumors in all. So, I can't have kids now. And it seemed fine. It didn't seem fine. Why am I lying? So, to be honest with you guys, when I went into the surgery, after seeing all the MRIs and the ultrasounds and the CT scans, I honestly didn't think I was going to wake up from surgery. So I didn't think that I didn't have to deal with the aftermath of everything. The healing process was a bitch. Like, let's just to be fucking honest, like, because I'm still healing from it. Like, it's not over. Like, I am 27 years old, and you know, it's so crazy is all these years of having fertility issues, and everyone keeps saying, I know this person and they got pregnant after doctors kept telling them it wasn't possible. And it's just like, why couldn't I be that story? Why wasn't I that story? Why am I going through this at such a young age? Like, what did I do? Menopause sucks. Surgical menopause sucks. I've never been so suicidal in my life. My emotions are so up and down. I don't know myself anymore, and I don't desire to do the stuff I love to do. My my husband and I are doing our best because he wanted kids as well. I can't do that for him. And people will tell you to adopt all day long, but they don't know the money that it costs. And it's not the same. It's not the same as actually carrying it or something being a part of you. My heritage, it ends at me. Whew, fuck. There's no one after me. Not with my DNA. There's no one is. We haven't decided, but we are building this house together. Whether we're going to stay married and live in this house together is beyond me right now. Oh, fuck. I'm back crazy lately, and I don't think he has the patience for it. I'm gonna stop right here today, and I promise that I will follow up with another video to explain more in depth what it's like to have menopause, what it's like to be 27 and going through menopause, surgical menopause, what it's like to have beaten 2 cancers and still debating why you're here and if you even want to be here. I am trying to find happiness again. Where is it? I don't know. When will my desires come back? When will I desire to love doing hair again? When will I desire to just get out of bed and clean? I have no idea. I don't know when I'm going to wake up and not at one point in my day contemplate hurting myself because I'm frustrated. It's so irritating to have gone through so much and still look fine because everyone expects you to be fine. I cannot deal with someone being rude to me right now or being mean or dishonest because it's like, do you know what the hell I just been through? Like, I've been robbed. I literally had life taken from me. And now I feel like my life is being taken from me. It sucks knowing that you are a woman. You were born a woman. And you are unable to do the one thing a woman should be able to do. I feel less than. Like, am I really even? Huh. I love you guys. If you're wondering where I've been, this is it. This is it. This is it. I'll talk to y'all later. More Ariel will be coming soon. I'm back. I promise. Love you guys. Bye-bye.